Hello, YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have 5 articles in this episode for you. The URLs are in the description of the video for your convenience in case you want to do some more research on them. And started right in here. The first one here is off of Liberty Writers. It says, Trump just brought a coal miner on TV and suddenly reporters everywhere freaked out. Trump signed legislation today to rescue coal miners from the coal industry, and liberals everywhere are freaking out. Then again, when are liberals not freaking out? Trump brought several coal miners, were brought in a room today. They were brought in for a special event. Trump has promised to rescue. That's one of his campaign promises. Hillary, on the other hand, had made promises to kill coal mining jobs. Tweet here from Mark Knoller, and it says, with some coal miners looking on, President Trump signs bill repealing Obama administration's regulation protecting streams from mining debris. It says the legislation will help protect coal miners from legislation that blocks American companies from mining. God bless Donald Trump. Look how he is saving America. He's making the Dems look like losers, and it's bringing jobs back to the country. From West Virginia was so happy. The next article that I have here is off of foxnews.com, and it says Trump selects Lieutenant General H.R.McMaster as National Security Advisor. On Monday, tapped Army Lieutenant General H.R.McMaster, a warrior named an expert in counterinsurgency, to be the director of the White House's National Security Council. Year-old McMaster replaces retired Army Lieutenant General Michael Flynn as the president's national security advisor. Resigned after lying about talking to Russia, officially took the NSA post about recently imposed sanctions. His talent and experience, Trump said in announcing McMaster's appointment. He's highly respected in the military, and we're lucky to have him. Trump also announced that Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg will remain as the NSC's chief of staff. I'm proud to continue my service to the nation, said McMaster, sitting next to Trump inside the president's Florida resort home in Mar-a-Lago. Or, say, Mar-a-Lago, I guess that's pronounced. Trump on Sunday interviewed several NSC candidates in an attempt to solidify the intelligence team days after calling for Flynn's resignation. A Philadelphia native and West Point graduate who Persian Gulf War and served in Iraq and Afghanistan. Team, Trump said, the country is honored to have 2 people like this, and after having met so many people in the military, we're lucky to have all of them. I'm honored and privileged to serve alongside General McMaster. He's a great statesman. Others he interviewed this past week, including former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton. The president said Bolton has a good number of ideas that I agree with very much, and that he will work for him in a different capacity. McMaster is currently director of the Army Capabilities Integration Center. He joined the Army in 1984, and 7 years later during the Gulf War and what would become known as the Battle of 73 Easting. Captain of the 2nd Armed Cavalry Regiment's Eagle Troop, McMaster led a force of just 9 tanks that took out more than 80 Iraqi Republican Guard tanks and armored vehicles. He is the author of the 1997 book, which criticized the U.S. government's handling of the Vietnam War. In his latest role, McMaster was tasked with gauging the U.S. military capability against future threats. When he addressed lawmakers in April of last year, he warned that years of military cuts have left the U.S. vulnerable. Ranged and outgunned by many potential adversaries, McMaster said, and our Army in the future risks being too small. The next article I have is off of BizPac Review, and it says state officials want Trump to reverse Obama's last-minute power grab. State officials across the nation are fighting former President Barack Obama's last-minute decision to impose federal authority over state-run election systems, the Daily Caller News Foundation has learned. Association of Secretaries of State, or NASS, which includes officials from all 50 states and U.S. territories. Donald Trump, in a resolution approved Saturday at a group winter meeting to overturn the Obama policy, may encounter unexpected resistance from the new administration. Obama ordered the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, January 6, 2017, to classify local and state election systems under the new federal designation of critical infrastructure. By a voice vote, the NASS declared that it opposes elections as critical infrastructure with across party lines. The NASS includes 30 Republicans, 21 Democrats, and 1 independent. Election authority falls under secretaries of state in most states, but some states give the authority to their lieutenant governors. All were in attendance at the winter meeting. The administration took state officials by surprise when only a day before leaving office, DHS Secretary Jay Johnson announced he was local election machinery to be placed under his federal cybersecurity program. Many state officials denounced the action. The decision was timed to coincide with issuance of this report on alleged Russian efforts to interfere with the 2016 elections. State officials initially felt they could count on DHS under Trump to rescind the designation, but now there are indications the new administration may be retreating from its early opposition to the policy. The U.S. Constitution recognized the authority of states, not the federal government, to administer elections. Some state officials worry the Obama policy federal takeover of elections. Louisiana Secretary of State Tom Schindler, a Republican and immediate DSS president, told the DCNF at the winter meeting that the Obama administration stonewalled when asked about the ramifications of the federal designation. Was the stonewalling from previous administration. They just don't seem to give us any answers to our repeated questions, Schindler said. Administration officials have also not been forthcoming about the meaning of the designation. Echoing Schindler was Connecticut Secretary of State Denise Merrill, a Democrat, who is the current NASS president. We were continually asking them, what does this mean? What will it cover? What are the implications? And we sort of never got anything back, Merrill told the DCNF. Secretary John Kelly originally said this Senate confirmation hearing that he opposed the federal designation, saying it appears to be a political question beyond the scope of DHS current legislative cyber. But Kelly reversed himself February the 7th of 2017, telling the House Committee on Homeland Security that I would argue that yes, we should keep that designation in place. SS appeared undaunted by Kelly's retreat, with Merrill saying, this is a pretty strong statement from the organization, and I know there are members who have contacts in the administration. Schindler said NASS hopes to meet with Kelly and Vice President Mike Pence. I'm not quite certain he has studied the issue in depth, Sheldon said of Kelly. We're hoping to meet with him, with hopefully Vice President Pence, and others will try to see if we can persuade them that this is not the thing to do. State Connie Lawson, a Republican and the incoming NASS president, expressed confidence the group, the new administration. I think it made a strong statement from NASS regarding how we feel about the designation of critical infrastructure, and it also leaves it open so we can have conversations with DHS about what this actually means, she said. Brian Kemp, a Republican, said, I hope this call for change leads to a productive discussion with the new administration. Kemp was a critic of the federal designation. He learned after the 2016 election that an attempt was made to compromise his state's voter registration. The intruder was traced to a DHS computer IP address. The DHS Inspector General is investigating the incident. Merrill emphasized the designation is not a partisan issue. A partisan issue. I think this is a question of election administration and where that appropriately belongs. What kind of oversight should come from the federal government, because it is seen by most of us as a state function, she told the DCNF. She added that the designation makes no sense because election machinery does not connect to the internet. Lists are tied to the internet, but those lists are manually printed out before the elections, and tabulations are not tied to any. I can't say this often enough. The election equipment that actually tallies the result of the elections are not connected to the internet, she told the DCNF. And so it's hard to see what the cybersecurity is going to address, she said. Of Liberty Writers, and it says George Soros will be mad as hell that Congress has begun snooping into his big secret. We see. Oh, no, that's not how it goes. Try that again. We smell George Soros. It was only a matter of time before George Soros comes under any scrutiny. The ultra-liberal mega donor has caught the scrutiny of the U.S. lawmakers. According to Fox News, with Soros after the Prime Minister lashed out at Soros' empire and accused it of deploying tons of money and international heavy artillery. Some people consider George Soros an economic terrorist. Macedonian Prime Minister Nikola Gruevski says that Soros has a decisive influence. If it were not for George Soros behind it, with all the millions he pours into Macedonia, the entire network of NGOs, media, politicians, inside and out, the economy would be stronger. We would have had more jobs, Gruevski said with Macedonia's Republika newspaper. George Soros has been accused of destroying our nation. Many people have said over and over again that this man wants to destroy our borders. Sheriff in town now, Soros. And there's a picture here in this article of Soros, and he's got a ventriloquist dummy on his lap that looks remarkably like Obama. The caption on it says, I can make him sing, talk, or even destroy entire economies without moving my lips. The article we have here is off of Western Journalism, and it says DOJ faces scrutiny in the Michael Flynn leaks controversy. President Donald Trump is reportedly supportive of Michael Flynn defending his honor, and the Department of Justice will be among the agencies receiving scrutiny as a potential source of the leaks. Reporting based on multiple sources close to Flynn that he is willing to testify before Congress about his conversations with the Russian ambassador if asked, and what he believes is an all-out assault by some members of the intelligence community. The president urged the retired Army general to fight for his honor, according to the news outlet. The former national security advisor at a press conference on Thursday, calling him a fine person and adding that he did nothing wrong, and calling his counterparts in other countries, including Russia. But I would have directed him because that's his job, he stated. A tweet from the Washington Examiner that says Trump, quote, person and what he did wasn't wrong, unquote. And scroll up here, there's some related video in this if you want to pull it up to take a look at that. There we go. It says, what was wrong? Other people, including yourselves, were given that information because that was classified information that was given illegally. That's the real problem, Trump said. Fault Flynn for the way he conveyed the information about the calls to Vice President Pence. He didn't tell the Vice President of the United States all the facts, and then didn't remember. It wasn't acceptable to me, he said. close to Flynn told Circa one concerted effort. Again, there was a concerted effort to go after Flynn are clear violations of federal law. There were only 3 organizations with this information: the FBI, which is under the DOJ, and the CIA. If they are going to investigate Flynn, they should first investigate the leaks. And waiting for the hamster. Jason Chavez, Republican of Utah, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, and Representative Bob Goodlatte, Republican of Virginia, chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, are calling on the DOJ Inspector General to open an investigation into the source of the leaks. The Inspector General is an independent watchdog charged with detecting and deterring abuse within the DOJ. The Chavez letter, media reports citing unnamed sources discussing, I jumped a little too much here, there we go, discussing activity within the DOJ and other agencies as a good place to begin the investigation. 2 Washington Post stories were among them. Flynn was being investigated by the FBI. Announced on Friday that the House Oversight Committee will be taking the lead in the congressional leaks investigation. Conservative radio talk show host and former Reagan DOJ attorney Mark Levin addressed the leaks controversy on his program earlier this week. Levin said one question that needs to be answered is, what did Barack Obama know and when did he know it? Where did the orders come from to intercept these phone calls, to record these phone calls, and who knew about it? Simple to get authorization from FISA court, particularly when it comes to private citizens, Levin said, recalling his Reagan administration experience. So the question is, how many of these phone calls were intercepted and recorded by the Obama administration? Gentlemen, is the real scandal, Levin contended, because even the New York Times has to admit that there is no evidence. The conservative, the intercept of Flynn's calls was a one-off. I suspect there have been a lot more intercepts, and I don't believe that he is the only one, Levin said. That's all I have for you in this episode. If you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up, share it on your social media so everybody gets to hear the news, and that way you'll stay informed. See you in the next episode.